Haley, the 32F, wasn't supposed to be home that early. The Boston conference I'd been preparing for over 2 months got cancelled due to a freak power outage at the venue. At first, I was annoyed. Then I realized, maybe this was fate giving me a break. A sign to step away from the chaos, from the sleepless hotel nights, and back into the arms of my husband. I remember smiling the entire Uber ride home. The sun was just beginning to set, casting an orange glow across the skyline as we crossed the bridge. I held my tote bag tightly in my lap, excited to see Ryan's face when he opened the door. Maybe I'd surprise him with Thai food from that place he loves. Maybe we'd watch reruns of The Office and fall asleep like we used to. God, I was so in love with the idea of us. When I reached the apartment building, I didn't text or call. I wanted to catch his reaction, the joy, the laughter, the moment of shock when he saw me at the door. I slid my key into the lock, quietly, almost mischievously. The apartment was dim and oddly quiet. I furrowed my brows. Winston, our beagle, usually greeted me first with tail wags and howls, but he was nowhere in sight. His leash still hung near the door. I stepped inside, suitcase wheels gently dragging behind me. The hallway smelled like lavender and something else, something muskier. Foreign. Then I heard it. A faint thud. A muffled gasp. Followed by a woman's moan. I stopped moving. My body turned to stone. It couldn't be the TV. Ryan didn't watch anything without subtitles because he hated missing lines. The bedroom door was cracked open just an inch, and I could see flickering movement, shadows on the wall. And then I heard his voice, soft, rough, familiar. Come on, Camille. That name. It hit me like a freight train. Camille? The only Camille I knew was Stephen McKay's wife, Ryan's boss's wife. A woman I'd seen exactly 3 times, once at a company picnic, once at a holiday dinner, and once in a picture frame on Stephen's desk. Elegant. Cold. Like someone made of pearls and expensive regrets. I tiptoed closer, every nerve in my body screaming, shaking. And then I saw them. My husband. Naked. Entangled with her. In our bed. On the sheets I bought on our anniversary. In the room where we said forever. I didn't gasp. I didn't scream. I didn't confront them. Instead, I backed away quietly. I closed the apartment door behind me with a soft click and walked right back out into the hallway like a ghost drifting through her own funeral. Out on the street, the cool wind hit my cheeks, but I didn't feel it. My legs moved on their own as I walked aimlessly down block after block, numb. No tears. No emotion. Just silence. And somewhere deep inside that silence, something cold and calculating began to grow. If I had caught him with anyone else, maybe I would have slapped him, cried, cursed. But Camille? This wasn't a random fling. This was stupidity wrapped in betrayal. And suddenly, I didn't want revenge. I wanted ruin. The next morning, Ryan greeted me like nothing had happened. He came into the kitchen wearing those stupid gray sweatpants I always pretended to like. Babe. You're back early? He said, kissing my cheek. His lips touched the skin he had betrayed just hours earlier. I missed you, I said. I smiled. Not a fake smile. A deliberate, terrifying one. The kind of smile you see right before the storm hits. I handed him coffee. Meeting got cancelled. I explained. So I caught a late flight. Didn't want to wake you. He blinked once. You didn't come into the room? I tilted my head, sipping my drink. No. You were probably out cold. I didn't want to bother you. He bought it. And suddenly I realized something else, he was an idiot. That evening, I cooked his favorite dinner, rosemary chicken with garlic mashed potatoes. I asked about his day. I massaged his shoulders while we watched Netflix. He had no idea I knew. He had no idea the gears had already begun to turn. I wasn't the same woman he'd kissed goodbye last week. That woman was loyal, trusting, full of soft hopes and shared dreams. The woman sitting next to him on the couch now? She was studying him like prey. I started with his phone. Ryan was careless. He'd switched to a company-issued phone months ago, some internal policy from Steven's department. But he left it on the kitchen counter while he showered. The passcode? Our anniversary date. Typical. It took less than 5 minutes for me to airdrop everything I could find to my hidden iCloud, messages from Cam, photos in hotel rooms, voicemails where she moaned his name like it was a melody. And Camille was dumb, too. She left digital footprints all over the place, check-ins on Instagram, yoga class selfies, even a picture of her feet on my comforter. This wasn't just cheating. This was disrespect. I didn't sleep that night. I laid awake, eyes wide open, Ryan's body breathing evenly beside mine, and I made a list. Literally. I opened the Notes app on my phone and titled it, How to Destroy a Man Without Touching Him, collect evidence, research Camille's connection to Steven, look into Steven's personality, values, and pressure points, plant seeds of trust, create opportunity, turn the mirror, watch them shatter. I was going to burn them both down. Not with fire. With truth. But I needed an ally, someone just as betrayed as me. So I began planning my next move, a meeting with Stephen McKay. I became an expert in secrets. My mornings started with fake smiles and small kisses. My nights ended with hours of digital sleuthing, curled on the living room couch while Ryan slept upstairs, probably dreaming of her perfume and the thrill of betrayal. Every time he touched me, I thought of her hands on him. Every time he said I love you, I saw the shape of her mouth whispering the same lie. But I smiled through it all, like a loyal wife. The truth was, I was building a case. One that would make sure neither of them ever recovered. I wasn't just going to confront them. I was going to expose them. Camille was easy. She had the arrogance of a woman who believed she was untouchable. Her Instagram was public, filled with photos of brunches, facials, and quotes about being that girl. She posted cryptic stories with half-naked champagne flutes at hotel bars. One of them, I noticed, had a reflection. A blurry image, but I'd know Ryan's build anywhere. His jawline haunted me. I screenshotted it all. The next step? Surveillance. I bought a baby monitor with audio and a camera and slipped it beneath the bed. Ryan never cleaned. He wouldn't notice. A week later, I had 2 clear recordings, one of Camille giggling about how Steven would never find out, and another of Ryan telling her he was just waiting for the right time to leave Haley. I sent both recordings to a secure folder in my drive labeled insurance. Every detail was catalogued. Time. Place. Outfit. Hotel name. Room numbers. She favored the Hensley Hotel downtown, a place she once called discreet and dreamy on her Yelp review. A private investigator confirmed it. I even had a receipt from our shared credit card. How poetic. They were funding their own destruction. And just when I thought I had enough, I stumbled on a gold mine. Ryan had a work laptop, an older one I assumed was gathering dust. One night, he left it open while on a call. I clicked around, pretending to help clean up his files. What I found in his downloads folder was better than I hoped, screenshots of messages between him and Camille on a private messenger app. They used code names. But Camille's dumb blonde moment? She signed one of the chats with a C. That was all I needed. Stephen McKay was not the kind of man you just called up. He was the CEO of one of the top real estate investment firms in the city, and he carried himself like someone who always walked 10 steps ahead of everyone else. Stoic, sharp-suited, and infamously private. The kind of man who made you feel like your time was wasting his time. I wasn't sure if he'd show. I created a burner Gmail and emailed him under a fake name. Subject, your wife. My husband. One hotel room. You deserve to know. Message, if you want proof Camille is sleeping with someone she shouldn't be, meet me at Cafe Aurelia. Thursday. 4 p.m. Come alone. I sent it and waited. No reply. Not even a read receipt. But Thursday came, and I went to Cafe Aurelia anyway, dressed in neutral colors, hair pulled back, minimal makeup. I wanted to look serious. Composed. I arrived 10 minutes early. He was already there. Steven sat at the far corner table. Sunglasses on, a black coffee in front of him. His phone set face down beside a crisp leather notebook. When I approached, he didn't look up immediately. Then he did. And I saw it, the exhaustion in his eyes. The flicker of suspicion. I sat down and slid a large manila envelope across the table without a word. He opened it. There was silence as he flipped through the evidence, photos, printed text messages, timestamps, hotel invoices. His hand stilled on a particularly clear picture, Ryan and Camille kissing in the hotel lobby. Camille's hand on Ryan's chest. His fingers grazing her thigh. Steven closed the envelope. You know, he said quietly, I always suspected she was cheating. I blinked. Then why stay with her? He gave a humorless chuckle. Because I didn't have proof. Because her father owns a 15% stake in the company. Because appearances matter when you're trying to sell a clean image. He looked up, eyes narrowing. Who are you? Haley Sinclair. Ryan Sinclair's wife. Or soon-to-be ex. He nodded once. I know Ryan. Fast-talking. Overdresses for client meetings. Never shuts up about crypto. I smiled coldly. Sounds about right. Steven tapped the folder. So why come to me? What do you want? I leaned forward. I want them humiliated. Publicly. I want their faces to burn when people whisper. I want to take everything they tried to destroy and turn it into their undoing. He didn't respond at first. He simply stared at me, evaluating. Maybe he thought I was unhinged. Maybe I was. But then. He smiled. A slow, dangerous smile. I was planning a party for Ryan next month, he said. Promotion to vice director. I didn't speak. I just waited. Steven continued, voice low and deliberate. All his colleagues. Investors. Friends. Camille, of course. We'll have a video presentation. A few surprises. My pulse quickened. What are you saying? I'm saying, he said, finishing his coffee, let's give them the kind of party they'll never forget. The day of the party arrived faster than I expected. It was surreal, almost as if I had been floating through a haze the entire week leading up to it. Each day felt like I was moving through a dream, both excited and terrified at the same time. I had rehearsed every word, every look, every possible outcome. There was no room for mistakes. Ryan was clueless. His promotion party was the talk of the office, an extravagant affair to celebrate his rise through the ranks. His boss, Steven, had promised to make it an event no one would forget, and I was about to make sure that was true for all the wrong reasons. Ryan had been extra attentive that morning, probably because he sensed something was off. Maybe it was the way I'd been so calm, too calm. Or maybe he noticed the strange look in my eyes. He kissed me goodbye, giving me that smile of his, the one that always made my stomach flutter. But that was before. Now, I watched him head out the door, smiling like an idiot, unaware of the storm that was about to come crashing into his world. I was ready. I had to be. I took a moment to look in the mirror, adjusting my dress, letting the fabric slip against my skin. It was simple, black, understated, just like me. Or at least, that's what people would see. Inside, though, I was a volcano waiting to erupt. I didn't wear this dress for anyone else. I wore it to remind myself that I was no longer the woman he betrayed. I was someone else entirely. Someone who would tear them down with nothing but the truth. The venue was a glamorous ballroom, polished marble floors, grand chandeliers hanging from the high ceilings, and a bar set up at one end. It looked like every corporate celebration you'd seen in movies, elegant, expensive, and meticulously curated. Ryan would thrive in an atmosphere like this. The crowd of colleagues and investors would adore him. His ego would inflate with every congratulatory handshake, every toast raised in his honor. But what they didn't know was that tonight was about to change everything. I arrived a little earlier than expected, knowing the guest list was full of influential people. My heart pounded as I entered the building. I could already see some of the familiar faces, Ryan's co-workers, his bosses, all of them oblivious to what was coming. Stephen was standing near the entrance, greeting guests with the charming air of a man who knew how to make others feel important. When he saw me, he smiled warmly, his expression unreadable. "Haley," he said, extending his hand. "You look stunning as always." "Thank you, Stephen," I replied, my smile cool. "Where's Ryan?" "Still mingling with the early arrivals," he said. "We're starting the official speeches in a few minutes, though." I nodded, scanning the room. The tables were set with gleaming silverware, the crystal glasses reflecting the warm lighting. Everything about this event screamed perfection. But all I could see was the countdown ticking down to Ryan's downfall. The plan was simple. I had set everything in motion weeks ago, planting seeds that would grow into the disaster tonight. Stephen had agreed to help me, and together we crafted the perfect storm. At the peak of Ryan's speech, I would reveal everything, his betrayal, his lies, the secret affair with Camille. And as the audience's gasps filled the room, I would ensure it was Stephen himself who'd expose it. A public humiliation that no amount of charm could recover from. As the night wore on, the tension in my chest grew heavier. My fingers tingled with anticipation, and I could feel the eyes of others drifting toward me. They all saw the calm, polished woman in black, but none of them saw the storm inside me. Finally, I caught sight of Ryan. He was laughing with a group of colleagues, the same smug smile on his face. He was glowing under the attention, relishing in his own success. But the look in his eyes, when they met mine, told me everything. He was nervous. I could see the slight twitch in his jaw, the way he kept adjusting his tie. But he didn't know why. He had no idea I was about to ruin everything. The speeches began shortly after. Ryan was the center of attention, of course, standing up to deliver a few words of gratitude for his promotion. I could tell he was enjoying the spotlight, he always did. The crowd laughed at his jokes, clapped at his overly rehearsed remarks. He was so perfect in their eyes. So untouchable. But tonight, he wasn't untouchable. I watched as Stephen made his way to the stage, tapping the microphone for attention. The crowd fell silent. The time had come. "Ladies and gentlemen," Stephen began, his voice smooth, commanding. "Thank you for being here to celebrate Ryan's promotion to vice director. It's a milestone in his career, and we couldn't be more proud to have him as part of our team." The crowd applauded, and Ryan stood taller, basking in the praise. But as Stephen continued speaking, I couldn't help but notice the slight shift in his tone. There was something in his eyes that spoke volumes. "I've had the privilege of working with Ryan for many years," Stephen said, pausing to look directly at Ryan. "And in all that time, I've learned a lot about what makes someone truly exceptional in this business." Ryan nodded, clearly pleased. "But," Stephen's voice grew colder, "what I've learned more recently is just how well someone can hide their true self." A murmur ran through the crowd, and Ryan's face froze. His eyes darted around, searching for answers in the sea of unfamiliar faces. He could sense something was off. "Ryan," Stephen continued, his gaze unwavering, "we've been colleagues for a long time. But lately, I've learned something about you that I think everyone here should know. I stood up from my seat, my heart hammering in my chest. The room had gone quiet, utterly still. I could see the confusion in Ryan's eyes. He was about to lose everything. But he didn't know how it would happen. With a click, I activated the hidden projector in the corner of the room. A video began to play. It was Ryan and Camille. The footage was grainy but clear enough to see everything. Their stolen moments, the secret exchanges. Camille whispering into his ear, her hand slipping under his shirt in a hotel room. Ryan laughing as he kissed her, the same lips that had kissed me just hours before. The audience gasped. There were hushed whispers, shocked expressions, and then, silence. Ryan's face turned pale as the video continued to unfold, revealing every detail of their affair. And when the footage ended, I took my first step into the spotlight. Surprised, Ryan? I asked, my voice cool but firm. I thought you might be. The room was still, the weight of the revelation sinking in. Let me explain, Ryan stammered, but his words were lost in the growing din of murmurs and judgment. His promotion was forgotten. His success, his pride, all of it crumbled in an instant. Stephen stepped forward, his expression one of grim satisfaction. Haley, he said, his voice low, you've done something extraordinary tonight. I nodded, my heart pounding. This isn't about revenge, Stephen. It's about truth. And sometimes, the truth burns. Ryan's eyes darted from me to Stephen, the realization dawning too late. His empire of lies had fallen apart. He was exposed, his career shattered in front of the people who had once worshipped him. And I was finally free. The crowd's reaction was immediate. It was as if the room had just been struck by lightning, and in its wake, chaos unfurled. Whispers turned into full-blown conversations. Some people stood frozen, their faces a mixture of shock and disbelief. Others were already on their phones, likely texting and sharing the shocking footage. Ryan, who had been the golden boy just minutes before, now stood at the center of a storm that was swallowing him whole. He looked lost, his eyes darting between the people who were once his colleagues, now his accusers. There was no escape from the truth, and in that moment, he knew it. The mask had slipped, and the man he had so carefully constructed himself to be was exposed for the world to see. Haley, he said, his voice trembling, this isn't what you think. I didn't mean for this to happen. His words were weak, desperate. I had no sympathy left for him. He was a man who had betrayed me, betrayed us, for months, and he thought he could cover it up. But what I had done was make sure the truth came to light in the worst way possible. Now, there was nothing he could do to salvage his reputation. No, I said, my voice steady, my hands clenched at my sides. This is exactly what I think, Ryan. This is who you are. You're a liar, a cheater, and a coward. And you've hurt everyone who believed in you. The room was thick with tension. Some people were looking at me, some at him. I could feel the weight of their gazes, but I didn't care. I had done what I set out to do, and now it was time for him to face the consequences. Stephen, who had been standing quietly by, stepped forward. His presence seemed to command attention. Ryan, he said, his tone now harsh and final, we trusted you. And this is how you repay us? With lies and deception? Ryan tried to speak again, but Stephen held up a hand. Enough. I've already informed HR. You're done here. It was over. I could see the panic in Ryan's eyes. His face had gone pale, and he seemed to shrink before us. The strong, confident man who had once swaggered into every room now looked like a frightened little boy, unsure of what to do next. I didn't think, he started again, but his words faltered. You didn't think about anything, I shot back. You never thought about me. Or about the people who trusted you. You were too busy lying, too busy covering your own tracks. I could hear someone in the crowd murmur, "What a jerk," and another whispered, "He deserved this." It was the sound of people realizing that the man they had once admired wasn't worth their loyalty. I didn't stay to witness the fallout. The drama was no longer mine to deal with. I had delivered my message, and the rest would unfold without me. I turned and walked away, my heels clicking sharply against the floor as I made my way toward the exit. The next few weeks passed in a blur. Word of Ryan's betrayal spread quickly. The company had fired him almost immediately, and the public humiliation he endured was enough to ruin his career. News outlets picked up the story, making it impossible for him to hide from the consequences of his actions. His reputation crumbled faster than he could have ever imagined. I had expected some sort of apology or a heartfelt attempt at reconciliation from him, but none came. Not that I wanted one. I didn't need an apology, what I needed was freedom. Freedom from the lies, from the hurt, from the person I had loved and trusted. For the first time in a long time, I felt at peace. I wasn't consumed by anger anymore. There was no lingering bitterness, just a quiet sense of relief.